Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast, a platform where we celebrate and delve into the intricacies that make small businesses the heartbeat of our communities. Each episode is dedicated to exploring a crucial aspect of our economic landscape, focusing on the innovative and resilient spirit of small businesses. Today, we're set to unravel the world of strategic talent acquisition and its pivotal role in driving business success. We'll discuss how the right hiring decisions can propel business growth, the significance of aligning hires with company values, and the art of effective recruitment processes. Our journey today promises to shed light on these vital aspects, offering insights and strategies that are key to building a robust foundation for any thriving business. Today, we're joined by Casey Huebsch, the founder and president of South End Partners. With nearly 20 years of experience in corporate sales and operations in North America, Casey has honed his expertise in building greenfield businesses, developing high-performance teams, and turning around distressed businesses. His passion for helping companies hire effectively led to the inception of South End Partners, where he employs industry-leading behavioral assessment tools to identify leaders who not only deliver results, but also resonate with clients' values. Join us as we delve into Casey's journey and discover how to transform hiring strategies for business success. Good afternoon, Casey. Welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. How are you today?
Absolutely fantastic. And I just wanted to say thank you for having us. Very humbling and excited to be joining you today.
We're honored, and from what I've read, it was a very impressive bio that I've read in a very long time, and it tells us that you're a true expert in the field of executive search and talent strategy. And Casey, your journey is reshaping how companies really approach hiring, which is quite impressive. Let's begin by looking at and just doing a little recount of your entrepreneurial journey. Now, embarking on an entrepreneurial journey is filled with challenges and opportunities of its own, and they're all for the purpose of both learning and growth. Casey, could you share your personal journey in founding South End Partners and the key lessons that you've learned along the way?
Absolutely. And I think I appreciate the intro and the question. So as you said, and as you shared during my bio, I've always had a passion for growing new businesses, developing new businesses, and obviously working with distressed businesses to turn them around. And even from a very young age, I was always very passionate about developing teams and, more importantly, developing people and making sure that I was able to help them get the most out of themselves and to reach their full potential. And that's sort of where my journey began. And as I started to grow throughout my career and built businesses both in Canada and the US, it became very, very apparent to me that a business is only as good as the talent that you have within the organization. And I took it upon myself to continue to develop and educate myself through executive education, through obviously reading and getting development when it comes to behavioral intelligence and emotional intelligence, to really try to hone my skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, from my perspective, my journey sort of and my passion towards this really started after an experience that I had when I was working with a business that we had acquired for a family fund that I had been working for.
Right.
And the business was unfortunately quite distressed and was bankrupt when we acquired it. And I remember being in Montreal talking to a very noteworthy very well-known international recruitment firm. And I really tried to explain and express what we were trying to do and where we were trying to go from both a cultural and values perspective, but as well as from a business performance perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite shocked because obviously there was some big fees that came along with working with this organization firm. And the very next day, they sent me an email with 20 names and said, okay, well, here's 20 people that you can interview, 18 of which I already knew from within the industry and none of which were the right fit for the business.
Right.
So I took it upon myself to really think and say, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And there is a better way of doing this. And that's sort of how South End Partners came to be.
Casey, we love the inspiration and motivation behind you finding, South End Partners, which is great. But let's build onto this a bit more. What were some of the pivotal moments or decisions that significantly impacted the direction of your business?
Yeah, so obviously our business has evolved quite a bit over the years, and we're the type of organization that's quite passionate about obviously staying ahead of the game and utilizing not only technology, but um, also staying ahead of any market trends that might be occurring. But I think the biggest pivotal thing that I can think back on is obviously what happened during COVID. And obviously, like a lot of businesses, there was so much unknown. And I remember in March, that first March, when sort of everything started to blow up, and we went from being completely overwhelmed with work to losing every single piece of billing that we had within 48 hours. And it forced us to really analyze and assess the business and the current state that we had today. And we decided to do two crucial things that I thought were really, really important. One is take that time to really make sure that we built on all of our skill set and look at the technology that we were currently using that we had in place. So we made tweaks and adjustments to the behavioral assessments we were using. We also analyzed all of the cognitive data that we're using as well from that standpoint. And then we took that opportunity to obviously make sure that we were continuing to learn and develop the business any way we possibly could.
Right.
The second thing that I thought was absolutely pivotal is we felt a responsibility to give back to those that were affected with obviously layoffs and that had lost their jobs due to the uncertainty that COVID had caused. And we spent quite a bit of time building our network, coaching individuals, helping prepare them for that next stage in their journey and their career. And one of the interesting things that came out of that is once June rolled around of that year, our business absolutely exploded and took off. And all of those people that we took the time to obviously network and build or help rebuild their lives and careers came back and was able to support us and really help us continue to develop the business and help it grow. So I'd say that that was something that was obviously quite pivotal and critical for us and the journey that our business has taken.
No, thank you so much for sharing the highs and the lows of your journey. And Casey, your story is not just inspiring, but it is also offering, practical insights for aspiring entrepreneurs. Now, let's kind of touch base on technology in the recruitment process. I mean, in today's digital age, technology is playing a very crucial role in many different aspects in industries, and recruitment process being, one of the key ones for sure. How has Southend Partners embraced technological advancements in recruitment, and what impact has this had on your business operations?
Yeah, and I think that's a phenomenal question and obviously a very important topic to discuss. So first and foremost, when I originally talked about why we got into this, our use of behavioral assessments, which we also call BI or behavioral intelligence, is key to any organization. And the reason for that is because it helps the candidate truly understand who they are as an individual and what some of their core competencies and strengths might be.
Right.
But it also allows our partners to get better insight into what makes an individual tick and what their driving needs and behaviors are from that standpoint. The second thing is we utilize cognitive assessments and cognitive testing that really provides a ton of insight into how somebody learns and how adaptable they can be in situations, which is obviously critical, especially when hiring talented or when looking to hire talent in a very tight job market. The third thing that we did is we also looked at things like our TRM system, our talent resource management system, which utilizes AI to help us from a screening and filtering perspective. Our firm currently has over 78,000 people in our database. It can be overwhelming at times to find people with the right values and characteristics and experience that you're looking for your partner. And you need to be able to leverage those tools to obviously make sure that you're speeding up this process and minimizing the work from that standpoint.
Well, it's quite fascinating to see how Southend Partners is at the forefront of these evolutions. But Casey, what future technological trends do you see shaping the recruitment industry?
Yeah, once again, phenomenal question. And one of the things that we're already starting to see is the impact that AI has within the recruitment space. So there's several programs out there currently today that can customize and write resumes for you. There's also several programs today that can help perform advanced screening from that standpoint as well. Although technology is going to continue to play a critical role in where the industry is going, it's also very important to understand that it does have its limits. And there does come a time where you are going to need a very personal and human touch, which is obviously what we try to provide, to make sure that the individual that you're speaking with or screening is actually capable of being successful within the job that you're hiring for.
Your perspectives on integrating technology in the hiring process is truly, I think it's opening up opportunities for hiring in the future. Casey, now let's talk about hiring for business growth, right? I mean, effective hiring is key driver for business growth, acquiring a strategic approach to talent acquisition. What's key skills and qualities should business owners prioritize when hiring for roles that are critical to scaling their operations?
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. And obviously, there's not a one glove fits all type of solution because every role is different. But I will share 3 core competencies that we encourage our partners to really look at and to think about and to try to dive as deep as they possibly can with.
Right.
First and foremost, we talk quite a bit about self-awareness. There is a direct correlation and quite a bit of writing and studies that have been published about the correlation between self-awareness and performance. And the higher the self-awareness, the better the performance you typically find with an employee. The second quality and competency that we talk quite a bit about is grit and determination. Far too often, we have found that, especially after COVID, there's not the same willingness that there was 10, 15, 20 years ago to really grind it out and go above and beyond for an organization, even though it would benefit you down the road to do so. Last but not least, adaptability and the ability to learn is the third thing.
Right.
And once again, business is changing so rapidly today. You really need employees that take it upon themselves to continue to develop their skill set and have the ability to obviously learn and to grow with the organization as it continues to change, to obviously survive in an environment that is going to look completely different than what it is today.
Thank you for the insights, Casey. But let's say businesses have hired, new hires. But how can they really ensure that these new hires will be good for their long-term growth plans? Like how do they make sure that these new hires really align with the business's long-term growth plans?
Yeah, and this is the most critical mistake that is made with hiring. When we go about going through our interviewing process, we always start with cultural and values-based screening, and this is critical. At the end of the day, there are several organizations that fall into the trap where they get enamored with somebody's experience and feel like that is actually the most important thing. But at the end of the day, if the person isn't aligned to your culture and your values, then it doesn't matter what kind of experience or how successful they've been in the past. There's not going to be long-term alignment. And typically within 6 months, you'll see that either the employer asks the employee to leave, or the employee decides that it's not the right fit for them, which is obviously a huge cost to an organization and something that you want to avoid.
No, that's a great approach and a great perspective indeed. And it's giving a blueprint for businesses that are seeking sustainable expansion. Now, Casey, let's kind of dive deeper into the hiring for values and fit. I mean, you just slightly touch base on it, but let's delve deeper into it. I mean, you're right that aligning new hires with the company's culture and values is quite critical for long-term success. But why is hiring for cultural fit and values alignment is critical, and how can it be effectively achieved?
Yeah, so first and foremost, it starts with the organization itself. You'd be surprised, and we do quite a bit of consulting work when it comes to this to help an organization really truly understand what their corporate values are. Quite often you find with organizations, when you talk about values or culture, you'll get a response along the lines of, honesty, integrity, respect. But at the end of the day, there has to be more driving values behind what you're trying to accomplish, and they have to be aligned with your business strategy. And in the world that we live in, sometimes business leaders don't always have enough time to sit down and really think those values through.
Right.
Second of all, I think it's critically important that you ask as many competency-based questions that align to your values to make sure that you have the comfort level that you need to make an educated decision, and obviously the right decision when hiring an employee. And those can be competencies such as leadership. They can be competencies like adaptability that we talked about. They can be competencies about how the employee deals with stress, or how the employee or the types of environment and speed in which the employee looks to work for. And those will all be very telling of whether or not the employee would actually fit within the values and the culture of the business.
Right. No, you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard for sometimes employers, especially small business owners, to find the right time and go through and just build onto that, interview process where they can actually learn about if the person is of the right cultural fit. On that note, Casey, could you share or help share, some of the methods to assess the cultural fit that small businesses or small business owners can use during the interview process?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake that most businesses make when making hiring decisions is they let their own bias come into play. So at the end of the day, I'm interviewing somebody and I see myself in somebody. All of a sudden, they must be good because I've been successful, and that's the worst thing that you could ever, or the worst mistake you could ever possibly make. So the approach that we've taken and the guidance that we typically give to our partners is to make sure that you have a very, very structured process. And your process, as I had mentioned, should obviously start with values and cultural-based screening. You can use tools like hiring scorecards as well as standardized questions, which we suggest are competency-based to really dive deep. We also recommend that our partners just don't accept the first answer that's given to them. As I'm sure you know, 68%, statistically speaking, 68% of all resumes have a lot of fluff in them or embellishment. And at the end of the day, it's very, very important that you dive deeper and you truly validate that what the information that's being shared by a candidate is actually true.
Your insights on value-driven hiring is really offering, a path for small business owners to build cohesive and successful business teams. Let's talk a bit more about successful screening and interviewing, which are both vital stages in the recruitment process, demanding, meticulous attention. Casey, what best practices would you recommend for conducting interviews that truly assess a candidate's potential?
Yeah, so a few things. First and foremost, I think from an initial interviewing stage, I think you want to put a candidate into a situation where you can see who they are truly as an individual and some person. So maybe it's a coffee chat, maybe it's a non-formal interview, just to see how well you actually connect with the individual on a personal level, which also gives you an opportunity to gauge whether or not the individual would actually fit into your environment and the culture of the business that you currently have. The second thing that I would say is have a very structured list of interviewing questions and take it to the next step where obviously you're asking the proper questions to make sure that the candidate actually shows the ability to be successful within the job. The third thing that we do, and it's a service that we offer for all the roles that we work on, but we also offer from a consulting perspective, is you need to get insight into the individual above and beyond just asking questions. And that's where our behavioral assessments and cognitive assessments become critical. A behavioral assessment will truly give you insight into an individual's driving behaviors and needs. And a cognitive assessment will truly help you understand how the person can deal with stress, how adaptable the person is, and how quickly they can comprehend changing situations. And those are all critical things that you need to know, especially when hiring and making key hiring decisions.
You're offering great services, and they would be quite useful for our listeners who are looking into, integrating these technology into their hiring processes. Now, how does South End Partners really leverage this technology into these critical stages of hiring, Casey?
Yeah, so every single partner that we work with not only is going to get uh, industry leading data, and that data would come in forms of candidate overviews. It's also going to come in forms of us doing readouts on the behavioral assessments and really walking our partners through not only the strengths of a candidate, but any gaps or areas of concerns, and then designing customized questioning to make sure that they can have the comfort level that the person is actually who they say they are and can actually be successful. And then last but not least, we also provide data and additional information when it comes to obviously cognitive abilities. This is all critical for two reasons. First and foremost, you want to understand and know how to properly communicate and develop and engage with this individual. And then second of all, this gives you insight into the types of questions that you should be asking. And it allows you to ask the best possible questions to make sure that you're obviously making the best possible hires.
Now, these are some invaluable tools for businesses that are really looking to hire the best talent out there. But Casey, based on your vast experience and on a final note, what advice would you offer to entrepreneurs who are navigating the complexities of building and scaling their businesses?
So first and foremost, hiring is hard.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's one of the most challenging things that you can do. And one of the things that we often say to people is, first and foremost, if you don't have the time to do it right, look for a professional to help you. At the end of the day, our firm puts close to 380 hours on average into any search that we work on. The second thing I'd say is if you do decide to do it, make sure that you, A, take a very structured approach, B, make sure you truly understand what your values and cultures are and how those will affect the business or how you want them to affect your business moving forward. And then last but not least, don't get frustrated and be determined, because at the end of the day, finding that right hire can have such a powerful impact on your business that it's worth being diligent and obviously taking your time to go through the right steps.
Thank you so much, Casey, for joining us today. I mean, your insights and techniques, they remind us of the need for, very comprehensive and a very meticulous approach of hiring the best talent out there. But thank you for your time, and we look forward to having you back with us to delve deeper into more aspects in terms of hiring. So thank you.
Thanks.
As we conclude today's episode of the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast with Casey Huebsch, we are armed with a wealth of knowledge and practical strategies for enhancing the hiring processes in small businesses. Today's discussion has underscored the importance of aligning recruitment with business growth goals, emphasizing how critical it is to look beyond mere qualifications to a candidate's fit with company values and culture. Casey's insights into successful screening and interviewing techniques remind us of the need for a meticulous and comprehensive approach to finding the right talent. The key takeaway from our discussion with Casey is clear. Effective hiring strategies are not just about filling positions, but also about crafting a team that resonates with the core values and vision of the company, thereby driving long-term success and growth. A heartfelt thank you to Casey for sharing his invaluable insights and experiences with us today. We also like to extend our gratitude to our partners: exclusive banking partner RBC, exclusive shipping partner UPS, exclusive accounting software partner Xero, and exclusive email partner Constant Contact. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey. Don't forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine at CanadianSME.ca for more inspiring content. Stay tuned for more engaging and informative episodes of the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast.